Welcome to the Grow Renaissance podcast. Let's nourish the world.
All right. Welcome back to Pasture Primetime, a Grow Renaissance podcast series where we dig into the stories, people, and practices shaping the future of regenerative agriculture. From livestock legends to soil whisperers, we're meeting with folks who are bringing our food system back to life, one pasture at a time. Today, we're joined by a true steward of the land, Nate Blatter of Family Farms LLC. Hailing from Utah, Nate is a farm manager and caretaker who embodies what it means to work with nature, not against it. Whether he's tending to the land or looking after his herd of Highland cattle, Nate brings purpose and precision to every acre he manages. Nate, you're a superstar in the field, quite literally, I've heard, and we're thrilled to have you on the show. But let me start with this. What is the best thing about being a farm manager at Family Farms?
Oh boy. Thanks for having me on first off. I would say one of the best things about being a caretaker for property, for animals, really is just being able to connect with everything outside. I'm someone that loves to be outdoors and connecting with nature. Call me granola boy, hippie, whatever you want to call it. I love being out in nature and seeing how the animals, the soil, um, and the way we manage those things can connect and how we can improve those. So that's probably my favorite thing.
That's amazing. I grew up on the west coast of Canada, and we're often referred to as granola kids on the west coast. So I align with
Right
that
on.
very much.
Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. You've been around nature and agriculture. This season in particular in Utah and specifically where you're located, are you running into much issue with drought? Tell me a bit about the season that's going on there.
Yeah. So we actually, it's funny you mention it. I just got an email yesterday or the day before, I think it was, from our city. And it's the water board that said, hey, please be aware that reservoirs and water holdings are getting low. And so please use your water wisely and look for ways that you can manage it to conserve water where possible. So that's the situation we're at right now with water in the state of Utah. Meaning, yeah, we need to manage it in a way that we are conserving where possible, but then also we're trying to keep fields green and managing cattle through a piece of property that if we don't have water, if we don't have the irrigation for it, um, we're not going to be able to stock the cattle that we have currently. So it's a fine line of, okay, where can we conserve water and what management practices do we need to look towards so that we can keep the cows that we currently have. So it's something that we're running into right now, but it's also not much different than previous years. So looking at what has gone well in the past and what has improved pastures and soil and water retention and those type of things, and then also looking for anything that we could improve upon or just manage better.
Yeah. Sounds like you follow a system of observational management, which is something I really lean into
For
as
sure.
a land steward. Maybe you could talk a little bit. Is there a system or a livestock management process that you think has worked particularly well in drought situations or water conservation situations that you face? Sounds like yearly in your neck of the woods.
Yeah. So we actually right now we're doing a more management intensive grazing where we're trying to move the cows onto a new plot, a new pasture, you could say, every week. And so it's not like you see Joel Salatin or Justin Rhodes or Greg Judy. Those are some big names of farmers that do the mob grazing, and they're moving 1 to 2 times a day, which is like very management intensive. But for us, and the amount of cows that we're running, we're trying to um, disperse our time wisely with all the other stuff that we've got going on. So we move them onto a new spot, and then once we've rotated them off the pasture, we try to keep them off it for at least a month, um, and just water as much as we can, as much as we're allowed, and that way we've found that uh, we can keep about 30% more head of cows on our property.
That's great.
Whereas if we just open them up into the entire pasture, they eat it down, they get picky with what they eat, and the soil's not as happy because it's just constantly getting just trod down. So
Yeah. Are you using cover crops at all, like multi-species blends for the cattle in there,
yeah,
or
so
primarily?
we're doing fescue grass, timothy, red clover, a little bit of white clover,
Yeah.
and some cold season grasses that should be coming in about a couple weeks from now. So we're trying to make sure that we've got a good variety of biodiversity in our pastures, and happier soil, happier cows. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I used to, as I think I mentioned to you, run Highland cattle myself. So you've got some Highlands in your herd.
we do.
What maybe you can tell our audience what you like about the breed and their temperament.
Oh, the Highlands have been my favorite cow forever. I've grown up almost always having a cow, whether it was little bottle calves that we'd pick up from a dairy
Yeah.
and have a summer project as a little kid, or I've been up to about 50 head myself. So nothing like some of the other uh, big hats that are on this podcast that are running 50,000 head. But um, these Highland cows, I love number one because they're so hardy. Um, they can withstand the heat and the cold and different climate changes that we have here in Utah. And then also, they're not super picky. They're pretty good about just foraging what they're given and staying fat, and their body condition uh, really stays pretty even. Um, So those are really good things. And then also temperament, like you said, they're docile temperament. You can go out there. I'm known to be caught out in the field brushing my cows. So that tells you something, that they're easy to work. They're not hot headed like some uh Angus cows that
Yeah.
are known to be harder to manage. So they're great cows, and they're fun. They're fun to look at too. They're
Yeah.
their long hair and their horns are just kind of uh I don't know, they're cool. The
Yeah.
fuzzy cows, everybody likes fuzzy cows.
That's right. I also found, because I was running cattle up into the mountains, which is similar to where you are, in terms of the foothills, but they're a bit of
Hmm.
a predator deterrent as well, just because of their size and look. They've certainly kept some predators at bay, as we've been camping out with them overnight, in comparison to other breeds. Um, so yeah, that's great. I love the fact that you have Highlands. Do you worry about the altitude at all with some of your breeds that you take up? Because you're quite high into the mountain range where you're running your
Yeah, we
cattle.
are.
Do do you get
We're
into
right
any
in the
trouble?
mountain range.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with these cows and just kind of naturally, like coming from the Scotland mountains
Yep.
and the Highlands, there's a reason their breed says Highland in it, because they're actually quite resilient to the higher altitudes and they thrive in it. I have my family, they live out in the Midwest,
Hmm.
much lower uh, altitudes. And I've actually seen where moving the cows from where they're at here in the high altitudes, like 8 to 10,000 feet elevation, um, down to the Midwest elevation, that's like 1,000.
Right.
Uh, they actually seem to do better here in these higher altitudes and the climate here. Um, but I'm sure with all animals, they're able to adjust, and these cows have done great here in the higher altitudes, um, and they forage great. So whether they're up or down or high or low, they really do well in what they're given. And I guess it's just kind of our responsibility to do the best we can for them and make sure that they've got the pasture ground that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're getting into some electric fencing with them as well? And you've got permanent
Yes, yes,
fencing, but you've got electric fencing going on as well too, right?
correct. Yep. So we've got a hard set fence on the perimeter,
Hmm.
and then we strip graze them through with electric fencing. So
What do you think
really,
about the virtual collars that are coming out? Have you been
it's
exposed to those?
crazy the technology that we're seeing
Yeah.
and the evolution of what farming looked like 100 years ago versus what it looks like now. Like our great grandpas would be just shell shocked to see the kind of things that we've got for management. Um, we've got a local dairy here that they do those virtual electric collar systems for their cows,
Yeah.
and it's worked well for them. There's obviously hiccups when you come out with kind of a new idea, and you're essentially the guinea pigs for it.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I'd be open to doing that with our management here. So it's interesting to see, and I think it's becoming a little bit more. Um, it's better technology. It's gotten better, and so I think the more time goes on, we'll see more people doing that because it's a lot easier. It makes things easy.
Certainly does. And when you think about strip grazing or just changing up your management practice styles, I mean you could be sitting in your office where you're at on this call and moving cattle around with the virtual fencing. Um,
Yeah,
I think that in terms of an efficiency standpoint, I mean I love getting out into nature just like you, and I love observational management and tending to the cattle, but there is something to be said around the technology and what it allows us to do, and really create some of those efficiencies and some opportunities to focus on some of the other ecosystem support that is needed to continue to have great pastures and great land. So
yeah,
that's neat.
I agree.
Yeah. And for those of you watching the show, I'm wearing one of the original ball caps that came out, Series 1, and Nate has got on the brand new Series 2 grow hat that just came out this summer. Um, you've been part of Grow as a community member for quite a while now, and I was interested to have you share some of your thoughts around this wonderful Grow blockchain ecosystem that we've built, and some of the things that you see as, let's say, advantageous, but interesting to share with our audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think so. Grow has been like the first that I ever heard of what Grow was, and blockchain technology and all these fancy words. Um, I had been talking to Will Taylor, and all of us here on the Grow platform know Will Taylor. He's kind of the big head of Grow, and he was explaining it, and it just kind of made me, it got me excited of what the future can look like with agriculture and transparency with food. And for me, what mainly got me into it was the idea that we can trace, like, from the start what is being produced all the way from the start to the finish, like from farm to fork is what that saying goes. And so the traceability of it, the transparency of knowing what goes into it, I think that's huge because the food industry, um, and really agriculture as a whole, it's kind of gotten to be this, I don't know how to word it, but it's, people don't trust it anymore. Like, you could go to the grocery store and you could see, oh, these are organic bananas, or this is organic tomatoes. And people that have looked into it and know what big ag is doing, they're not going to trust that sticker, and they're not going to want to pay 30 cents a pound more for their potatoes, just because there's so many loopholes or under the table things that go on. And so being able to trace and know, like, and have a history of what that food has done and what the whole journey of that has been, I think that's huge, especially for health. I grew up with a very health oriented, holistic, natural approach to things. Um,
Nice.
and it's something I believe in. And so this grow community, it's nice to be kind of uh, all in it together, working towards a better, healthier environment and really essentially world for us as humans living on it.
Yeah. That was really well said, Nate. And maybe I should make you a spokesperson with Grow here.
Oh boy.
um,
I don't know about that.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, the premise around traceability is just that. We all want to know where our food is raised or grown. We'd like to have better connection to the people that are stewarding the lands and producing the food for us. We're all so busy with our lives, and you mentioned technology and how that's creating some efficiencies, and where we're going in our world. I'm sitting in Canada today. You're down in Utah. Um, I'm going to be in Chicago in a couple of weeks. I mean, the globe is very small when we think about the footprint and the amount that we move around. Um, and so that piece around data and that piece around understanding how to do our own research and look into the things that we're going to consume, because food is health, and how does that affect us, uh, it is a reason, just like you, that I wanted to join the Grow community and be with like-minded individuals within this community to say, hey, we need to drive more people to understand what they're eating and where it comes from. But more so, we need to give you the mechanism to go do that research. And so trace, whether it's a QR code or whether it's, going to a website and plugging in an EID, which is an ID tag for those that do use it. We can actually look into where our food is raised and grown, and have better understanding. And as I always say, get to know your ranchers, get to know your farmers and where your food comes from. Ask those questions when you see the names on the labels in the grocery store. Where is that farm located in relation to where you're picking up the food? Do you have a lot of farm markets or farm to table restaurants or farm markets around your area, Nate?
We're getting to have more.
Yeah.
It has become a more popular thing, and people, I think, are opening their eyes a little bit more for um, health and what they put into their bodies. And that's a start for sure. Where first you gotta care, and not just run to McDonald's because you're hungry, but some people are starting to really become more aware of how things have been run in the past and looking for better options. And so here in the valley, we've got probably two or three more locally based um, farmers stands or homegrown restaurants that they try to source all of their food locally.
Hmm.
So it's getting better, but I mean, it's a drop in a bucket. And that's where everything has to start, is from some small uh, food stand to everybody in the world starting to care about what they eat. And so, yeah, they're doing all right. And I think it's better than some states and some areas in the world, but we can get better and we can improve for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. What when it comes to cattle, what are you seeing on cattle prices out in your area? Are you guys high like a lot of the market is right now, or?
They are, yeah, we're higher than I thought. It would probably dip down a little bit more this year. I mean, last year was super high here, and it's kind of maintained that same price,
Yeah.
and especially grass fed. So we're a strictly grass fed, um, organic production here, and so that kind of demands a higher price, and we've seen that high price just kind of stabilize, and I don't know, might go up, might go down, but right now it's still pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing that trend right across. I think most people I talk to is, the prices, particularly in cattle and beef, continue to move upwards, and we haven't seen these prices for quite a while. So make hay while the sun's out.
Yeah.
When you talk about organic, and I might dare to open up this can of worms a little bit, do you get challenged on regenerative versus organic? Do you get a lot of questions around that? What are your thoughts around those terms?
um there's a lot of terms out there, organic, regenerative, self-sustaining. All of these words, I feel like they all kind of align on the same end goal, um that being uh maintaining things in a way that keeps things more natural and healthy and nutritious. And
Hmm.
so for me, I don't personally get into the argument of, oh, but organic's better than XYZ. But I do think, since they all kind of are working towards the same goal, um, what I like to look at as a whole is, there's the supply chain. Let's say we're producing, or we're raising a cow to go to market,
Yeah.
and the fewer interferences or inputs that we can have from start to finish, I think the better. And the fewer hands that touch that cow, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that that's how we run things here. Um, and I like to sit down to dinner, to my burger, knowing that it's not um, shipped from halfway around the world, that it doesn't have DNA strands of 1,000 different cows,
Hmm.
and that it was eating the pasture that's out in my backyard. Like,
Yeah.
that's about as good as you can get. And if we can work towards making that a possibility for everybody, that would be amazing.
I
So
agree.
I've got that myself, because I'm raising my cow. I take it to the butcher, and I get my meat back in a month, and I know exactly what it ate because it's been eating my backyard.
Yeah.
And everybody's not afforded that luxury, but I think the more that we're able to communicate that this is possible through local farmers and transparency of what goes on, I think that will become more and more possible.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. It's certainly very much needed, and that goes for everything, right? Whether it's your meat or your carrots or your potatoes, the ability to know where it comes from and learn how to grow some of that yourself. Where you can have a very small plot, doesn't have to be much. Um, I was working with somebody that had 100 acres, and they're working on getting 1,000,000 pounds of produce off 1,000,000 acres, or sorry, 1,000 or 100 acres. 100-acre piece of land, 1,000,000 pounds of produce out of that. And so the carrying capacity of land is, phenomenal, and what we can do with it. And often we don't maximize that. We don't take it to its extremes, because we're so used to going to find more land to keep up the same systems, right? And we can just jig the systems
Mm-hmm.
we have and make better use of the land that we're already tending to and stewarding. So I think that's great. Um, I, I'm going to do a little bit of a challenge here. You mentioned Will Taylor, and I just want to see if he listens to some of these podcasts that I put out. So between you and me, Nate, we're going to run a little bit of a fun game here. Um, Nate, you may know that we've just put out a blockchain NFT cow, and you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
watching the cows. And so the digital twin of that is something that you can purchase on our Grow store. And it really reserves your spot in line to attach a real world cow with this digital version. And Will's going to be doing some chats about that. We also have our Grow manifesto, which really sort of embodies everything that we do and why Grow is Grow. So every time you purchase a Grow manifesto, and Nate can back me up on this because as a witness here, if you're listening to this and you go purchase your Grow manifesto from today, and we're sitting August 6th, I'm going to run this to August 15th. So between the 6th and the 15th, Will's got to do 100 push-ups, and so we're gonna set that challenge to see how many 100 push-ups we can get for Will to do. I also want to see if he's going to listen to this. So,
Yeah,
and Nate,
he's got to get back in shape.
yeah, exactly. And you get to see Will more often than I do, as he's floating through the ranch there where you're located. So you can hold him accountable as we get these manifestos sold and these 100 push-ups per manifesto.
Yeah, I'll see if he's getting bigger muscles.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Nate, what else can you share with us about what's going on in Utah and in agriculture? It's a state that I'm actually not super familiar with, and I know that there's very unique situations in every state and every county actually, as it relates to agriculture. But what are some of the things that you're seeing that are progressive or changing, or that you can share with us?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, like you said, even from county to county is a different viewpoint or management practice. And in our county, I feel like we're getting um, more open to different ways that we can manage things, or different practices. And there's some counties that are very set in their ways, and it goes back to uh, a generation or two back, and they're a little more it's my way or the highway type mentality. And so I think looking for ways that we can find common ground with our intentions and goals with agriculture or livestock or whatever it may be. Um, for me, I've always been looking more for the natural, holistic, God-fearing type practices. And there's some that is more big ag, chemical fertilizer, bioengineered produce. And for some farmers, that's easier. To do things more naturally and regeneratively, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult, and it takes more time and it's maybe not as perfect or beautiful as those farms that just spray everything and have zero weeds and have big, beautiful, picture perfect produce. But that's not how things used to be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can go to a farmer's market, you see a wonky cucumber and you see a weird looking tomato, and they're not all the same shape, they're not all the same color, they're not all the same um, look. And
Or
that's
variety.
how they were
Or
made. That's
variety.
how God, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how God made things to be. Is everything's different. Everything um, has its own unique shape, color, size, whatever. And so I think um, if we look at it from a nutrition standpoint, we shouldn't really care what other people are doing. We can be examples and we can voice what we believe. And if they want to do that, then that's great. If they don't, then they can do them, and we can do us, and we can feed our bodies or our families or our communities um, the best that we can. So from Utah, we've got all different kind of managements and different views and beliefs with agriculture and how the best way is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's the same for the whole entire world, from countries and nations alike.
Yeah. There's there's one thing that really stands out to me in what you said, and that's really the education that things have to look perfect, right? In the field, I'm one to often say that ecology is messy, and so why are we trying to do anything different? It's, the
Yeah.
systems we're going to set up, they're going to be messy. The management practices, the fencing. But when it comes to the actual food, it carries through to that, and so the different color carrots and the different varieties of tomatoes and the different shapes that they have. Um, they're still very nutritious, right? And it doesn't mean that we have to have this picture perfect look that you find in grocery stores. But one
Hmm.
thing I do ask is, as you're talking to farmers, as you're talking to ranchers, as you're talking to producers, start asking about where they're sending some of this secondary product that isn't making first cut for grocery stores, because in North America in particular, we could feed North America twice over just from the food waste that we have that isn't going to human consumption. Um, and if we start asking those questions, we can ask that at the grocery store, we can ask that of our farmer, we can access some of this nutritious food that just doesn't fit the picture to be on shelf. um, and it's wonderful because otherwise it either goes to the landfill, composting, sometimes it goes to animal feed, but a lot of it gets trashed. And I'm really on a mission to help drive a little bit of that, call it a second harvest almost, where we can
Hmm.
access this food. But it starts with asking questions. Hey, where are we sending those carrots that don't look perfect? The tomatoes that have 5 bumps as opposed to 3. Um, potatoes that come in all different shapes and sizes and different colors. I had a potato that I was growing for quite a while, and it looked like a carrot. It was just long and skinny, but it was a potato variety. You know, grown
Make for a good
in
French fry.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So we got to ask these questions, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. One of the other things that I like that you mentioned is there are a lot of terms out there. You talked about organic, and really it's the heart and mind in what you're doing, reducing chemistries, nature-based solutions, really stewarding the land. I often talk about regeneration, but regeneration as an end state. We want to get to a spot where our natural ecosystems are self-regenerating. That's really the idea of
Hmm.
regenerative agriculture, and we have a long way to go to help reestablish what we've destroyed. And I'm not knocking our ancestors and our fathers and our grandfathers that tilled the land and cultivated it, because after the world wars in particular, that's kind of where I pick up. We needed to do things to get back into track, and centralization was good, market space penetration, creating monocrops so we could start refeeding the world again. But now we've hit this tipping point, and we have recognize the devastation we've done to our land, and we now need to start to rehabilitate it. And that's really the term I like to use is rehabilitation. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I align with some of your thoughts and ideas, Nate, is, that regardless of the word, you're really trying to steward the land and rehabilitate it so that we can have, really healthy soils, and that translates into our grasses and our forage and our potatoes and our livestock and our meat. And I think that is wonderful, no matter where we are.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's something that our bodies and the land that we live on, those two things are the most important to maintain and to be stewards over. And the connection between those two, the body and the land, is huge. And if we can work on one of them, then really we're working on the other one too. And it's a package deal where if we care about what we put in our bodies, then we're going to care what we do with the land. And if we care what we do with the land, then it's going to uh, be good for our bodies and what we
Yeah,
put in them. So,
yeah. I'm going to ask a silly question here, and you may not have the answer off the top of your head, and that's okay. Do you know what your soil organic matter is in ground, in situ?
on this ranch, no. I don't live here currently. We're working towards getting me here. Um, but I know where my house is and where I have my personal cows, we're 6% organic matter,
Oh, right on.
which is a lot better than some, but it could be improved.
Yeah.
I know there's Joel Salatin. He's a big uh, farmer and a big spokesperson for the regenerative movement, and he is huge on the organic matter and improving soil health and the ecosystem around it. And he started with like a 1% organic matter farm, and over the years that he's managed it, it's like 8 or 9%.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, there's ways that we could do a lot better, but 6% is not too bad.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful, actually. I mean, my own farm is only about 4, and we continue to try to rehabilitate it. The the thing that I like to sort of iterate, it's about the functional component of soil health, because I think a lot of people place emphasis on the soil health being a, sort of static number that we get to.
Hmm.
And I talk about the functionality, right? And so it's got to be a circular cycle that happens, and whether it's nitrogen or whether it's carbon or whether it's water, these are all cycles that work together. At the end of the day, I don't think there's a ceiling for, or what we can achieve. I think we need to continue to push that, and there's some thought leaders out there that are hitting 14, 11 to 14 percent organic matter, and I don't think there's a ceiling. I think we can just keep driving the more we understand what's happening in the soil and the different management practices that we bring to it. And I think for me, that's really motivating and exciting that there's sort of an endless possibility to continue to rehabilitate and get to that regenerative state.
Yeah, yeah, there's never a ceiling. If you put a ceiling, you're limiting yourself. So you can always strive for better. You can always improve upon what you've got. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're getting near to the end of our segment here. As I often do, Nate, is there anything you want to share with our grow community or those listening that aren't yet part of our grow community? Either what's happening at the ranch where you're working or within your area, some local agriculture events or trade shows that you want to mention. Really, the floor is yours to share, and I'd love to hear anything you have to present to us.
yeah, I think if we can just start small, if everybody feels like they have this huge plate or this huge task to change the world in one day, it's overwhelming. And so if people don't have the property or the land to do anything big, heck, just go out and support your local farmers. Um, Grow a tomato. That's what I tell people. Just grow a tomato. You can grow a tomato in your apartment. And if you've got a little bit of yard, grow a garden box. You can start small. Um, and then we can work towards bigger things. And I think that's what grow is connecting, is these uh, small farmers or small group of people that want to do big things. And so if we can just do everything in our capabilities and reach out to neighbors, help them understand that what we eat is important, and the nutritious, good food is possible through supporting your local farmers, doing it yourself, and just caring about it. I think if you care about what you eat, then things can change. And we're seeing that change rapidly grow of people wanting to know what they eat. So I would just say grow a tomato and look for people in your area that are growing things in a good, self-sustaining, regenerative way, and support them.
I love it. Really appreciate that, Nate. So 2 challenges for everyone on the line. 1, grow tomato. That's Nate's challenge. Support your local farmer and all the things that he had to say there. And 2, go get your Grow Manifesto NFT. If you don't know how, reach out to anyone on the Grow team. Reach us in our social platforms. And when you do, make sure to go comment in our Discord or any of our social platforms, hashtag Will Taylor pushups. Let's see how many pushups we can get Will Taylor to pound out here.
Yeah, let's make him do 10,000.
I love it. I love it. Well, Nate, thanks so much. Really appreciate you having you on here. Thanks for being part of our Grow community. I look forward to talking to you in the near future. And we'll catch everyone on the next episode of Pasture Primetime. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Grow Renaissance podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this episode. Remember, it will take a community of us to do the best in the world and truly nourish not only ourselves, but the planet, the atmosphere, the soil, the plants, and the animals on it. So make sure you spread this message anywhere that you can.